one of the scariest and hardest things to hear in life is when your doctor diagnoses you with cancer, which makes many people fear the worst. Joining us today is cancer survivor Steve Kelley to talk about his new book, Cancer R.I.P, The Ultimate Fight. Welcome to Bloom, Steve.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here.
So, Steve, I was reading a little bit about you and your cancer diagnosis. Can you talk our viewers through it? I mean, it sounded like it was a very frightening one where you were probably fearing the worst.
Yeah, it was, because in the beginning I started to go blind, and I had a significant tumor about the size of an avocado in the back of my head, and it started to pressure the nerves, the sight nerves and things like that. And it also did a really good job at destroying my memory. So I could no longer find my way. I had a perfect driving record over a 40-year period. And I found myself crashed into a small island in the center of town, and just got out of the truck and looked around and said, what happened? And tried to make it home. It's about 5 minutes home, and it took me 3 hours to get home. So it was very scary.
And what were your feelings on a personal level? Because I know that you kind of take us along on your journey in your book about fighting and staying focused, but you had to be going through it. I mean, losing your vision, you're no longer to drive like you used to be able to do. So what were you going through on a personal level?
Well, it was scary to a point, but I had already made up my mind that I wasn't gonna, it was sort of an instant reaction to fight it. And once we found out, it was actually harder for it was an intern doctor who came and said, I have a mass in my head. It was harder for him than it was for me. I started to make jokes. Like I said, does that mean we're going to church, like, to a mass? Or, trying to get him to laugh. So I wasn't as struck at that moment as you might think. I just made up my mind that I was going to make the best of it. And even though it was scary and continues to be a little scary, that I still have problems like with directions. And it's more like I treat it more as an adventure now, that, when I get lost, it's like, okay, let's see if I can find my way back. So it's not 100% better, but I turn it into more fun than anything else.
So how do you think that you were able to pull that off? Because a lot of people would have oh no, fear, throw in the towel. But how did you kind of pivot and decide right away that you were going to fight?
Well, that's a really good question about how I decided. It just happened quickly. So I brought my family together within 1 week and said, all right, we're going to have a bowling party. And they said, what? I said, yeah, we're going to go bowling. We're going to have everybody over, and we're going to pretend this didn't happen. And I said, if it happens, it happens. There's nothing you can do about it. So we went bowling, and we had a great time. And I just committed and continue to commit to make every day amazing. And just the chips will fall where they may. And, you might think that I don't want to have a false sense of bravado. There's a lot of fears that I explore in the book, like my fear of the MRIs and things like that. So I'm not sort of a Superman or presenting myself that way. It was more of a super pragmatist and saying that, you know what, there's nothing I can do about it. I'm going to make the best of it. And I actually came up with a little definition in the book I put in, that maturity is the ability to make the best of every situation. And, any fool can make the worst of a situation, and we see that regularly today. So yeah, it was more of a decision to just do that. I have a lot of people that depend on me, and they look for leadership, and we always want to create hope in a leadership situation. So and I would attribute a little of that. So I had a 20-year career teaching, and I teach leadership, among other things, and I think that helped me a lot to prepare me to go through it.
So I want to talk about your book. We have just about a minute left, but beating brain cancer is the ultimate fight. Tell us about your book and why you decided to write it.
I want to help people, for sure. I mean, I think it was so difficult that I want people to know that you can fight it. You have to fight hard. And very quickly when I went through my stem cell transplant, my toenails and fingernails fell off. I mean, these are harsh things that happened. I lost my breath completely, couldn't walk up a set of stairs. But if you just make up your mind, you're just going to do something every day to beat it and just continue. I think that's really good.
I think that's great. I know people are going to want to read your book. Thank you so much, Steve, for joining us. And I want to tell folks where they can find it. The book is Cancer R.I.P, The Ultimate Fight. For more information, you can visit onestoppublishing.com. We appreciate you, Steve, and we're going to be back with more Bloom right after this.
Thank you very much. Wonderful host. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.